Strong body, strong soul. You have both of those. I'm just here to remind you. Hi, I'm Maria. You never know where inspiration is going to come from. I was so lucky to have some conversations recently with Master Ercolano 6th degree black belt in Tang Soo Do Karate. We were talking about mindfulness, we were talking about breathing techniques, and in today's interview, we are talking about parenting. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Here we go.
I have kids that start at 3 years old.
Wow.
And I have people that start at 63 years old.
I was going to say, let's go to the other end of the spectrum.
It goes all over
it's
the
never
place.
too late
Yes.
either,
Yes.
right? It's never too late.
Right.
Because even if you have, like me with my double knee replacements,
Yes.
I'm sitting on the side with all the parents, right? Watching you teach Riley.
Yes.
He's a 2nd degree black belt right now.
Right.
But for years I'm sitting there, but I'm nervous about my knees.
Of course.
And the kicking and the bounce. I'm a personal trainer, but I'm very specific about my exercise.
I
and
agree.
being on the mat kind of scares me.
Yeah.
So I've never done it. So I think it's fascinating. I love the way you teach because it does encourage the parents kind of to think a little bit. And we'll talk about that. What do you think that parents can learn from being on the sidelines there? Oh,
Wow.
that's a big one.
You know, what are you a role model for the kids?
Yes.
And the difference between, just speaking about teaching martial arts, between being a teacher in school, being a martial arts instructor, typically school teachers don't have the parents standing there watching them the entire time.
Correct, yes.
And sometimes parents come in and volunteer. I certainly volunteer at my
Right.
daughter's school. But the parents are...
Unless there's a problem.
Yeah, right,
Sometimes,
exactly.
but
Right,
everyday
which
stuff.
is unfortunate because
Yes.
you really want to see them in the best light.
Yes, yes.
But the parents, parents give off energy when they're watching on the sidelines. They can be giving little indications to the kid of lack of confidence or full confidence.
Ah.
And so, if they're constantly redirecting the kid from the sidelines as to what to do, it's a
Yes.
subversive way of saying you don't know what you're doing.
Wow, that is so interesting. I find that with water polo now, that
And-
Alexander's
and-
in water polo.
And soccer.
Look at the
and
coach. Look
Yes.
at the ball.
Right.
Don't look to the side
Exactly.
for me to be yelling shoot.
Right. Exactly.
It has nothing to do with me.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
and,
them.
and the thing is, I think there's a difference between expressive exuberance and correction and control.
Yes.
And when you're trying to get the child to perform to what you think they should be doing is a form of limitation. You certainly have expectations, but you're not really
Enabling.
exactly. And
Wow.
yeah, we were also talking about victim mindset,
Yes.
right, and then victor mindset.
Yes.
And victimization, in all the years that I've been teaching martial arts and studying martial arts, that's really number one. People's mindset shifts. And I don't think you have to study martial arts necessarily to become an expert in self-defense.
Uh-huh.
But you can use martial arts as a vehicle to change your mindset. You can use mindfulness as a way of changing your mindset.
Yes.
You can have a parent-kid dialogue that changes your mindset, and that's really the key. So not being a victim is really a matter of making different decisions and also different landing on different ideas of what you're supposed to do in certain situations.
Interesting. That goes hand in hand too with the idea if a kid is at school, 100 kids, they all like him except for that one.
Right.
That whole law of attraction, that
Yes.
one kid,
Yeah.
you are going to, it's up to you
Yes.
how you react to
Right.
that situation.
Yes.
Make a decision. Are you going to be victimized by someone that doesn't like you?
Yes.
Or are you going to make a decision and not be a victim
I-
and go towards the people that do like you?
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Wow.
I taught. Hey, could you just do 2 minutes on self-defense with kids?
Yes.
Seriously, 2 minutes. All right, 2 minutes. What am I going to do? So what did I teach them? I taught them. I said, when you're walking through school, and I had the kids practice standing up tall
Posture.
and walking, eyes
Yes.
forward, gazing as if you have a destination in mind.
Yes.
And that was my one contribution that I thought was relevant for children, and it's exactly what you're talking about.
Interesting.
Law of attraction.
Yes.
If I have the posture of a victim,
Yes.
if I look down, if I curl my shoulders forward, then that one person out of 100 is going to say, ah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more you don't speak up, other people notice, even if it's not those kids.
Yes.
Because, like I've told you before, the reason that we brought my son here when he was 7 is because he was being victimized.
That's
Even in
sad.
carpool, I could see in my rearview mirror him in the back seat and the kids behind him poking him in the head.
And I would see him. And he had it in his head that to be tough meant I can take it.
Yes.
He never ever turned around and said, "Stop it, you're bothering me."
Right. Yeah.
And that bothered me,
I
of
agree.
course,
Yes.
of course.
Of
And
course.
no matter, as a parent, no matter how much I could explain that to him,
Right.
it wasn't until I let go of my own ego, by the way,
Yes.
and we can go there, and admit that my voice isn't the one that he needed to hear.
That's perfect.
You have to, as a parent, make peace with that.
Yes.
You can't be envious of that basketball coach because your kid wants to hang out at high school after school because they or
wow.
whatever.
Yeah.
You have to give it up that your child is going to benefit, and you need to trust your child to go to the voice that they need to go. And obviously, as a parent of a 7-year-old child, it was my obligation to go around and shop around for the best karate studio,
Right, exactly.
for the best karate instructor, by the way. But I can't even tell you, we would go into karate studios and I could feel the energy in there. Some of them were too like, let's dance between stuff. And some of them were very serious, wear full uniform, and too serious. You were just right.
Thank
just
you.
like the Three Little Bears.
Yeah, on the porch.
Yes.
The word that we use here is engagement. We
Yes.
we don't want to entertain. We're definitely an educational organization, so the engagement is bridging the gap between those two
Yes.
things. Engagement goes back to mindfulness. It goes back to it connects to all these things.
Yes.
You know, when you were saying, when you're talking about, my voice is not necessarily the one that my son's going to hear for certain things.
Yes.
That's brilliant, and that's a great point. What I actually thought you were going to say is my voice is not my son's voice, and he has to find his own voice.
That too.
And
that
that's
too.
it's the same thing. It might find a solution that you can't think of to stop bullying.
Yes.
As long as you're talking to them about it, they might come up with a creative solution that's better. The place where it's happening, they might have a better plan.
That's true.
But
That's
if
true.
we're talking strictly about parenting, my observation from being a teacher for actually way more than 25, and being a parent myself, is that they pay way more attention to what you do and what you say.
Yes.
And so if you're mindful about how you're approaching people, how you interact with people, you can show them how to be assertive in an appropriate way.
Yes.
And so, in the situation where you're getting poked and you turn around and say, "Hey, stop that."
Yes. Yes.
That's going to demonstrate to them. And I agree. And the other thing I want to contribute for parents out there that just they want a glimmer of hope. You just relentlessly repeat your message to the kids, even if you feel like there's no response.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think back to your own childhood, you're going to say, "Well, my mom always said," or "my dad always said." It doesn't mean that it sunk in at that moment, but it'll always register as something that had been repeated.
That's true.
And then at that point, when you're ready as a person to take that value or that message and then honor it, that's in your own time.
That's
So
true.
if you're constantly having to tell your kid, look both ways before you cross the street, and you're repeating it over and over again, things which I feel are not negotiable and not something you're ever going to back off on, but you're not seeing immediate results, have hope, because it will sink in eventually.
Yes.
It always does, but in their time, not in your time.
Okay, now, Master Ercolano, how many times do you need to say something for a kid to get it?
Well, read a way of describing how children learn, spherical learning.
Okay.
So it's like they're the center of this sphere, and information comes in different areas in different ways, whereas we tend to learn things in a linear fashion. If I was going to teach you
As an adult.
As an adult, yes, exactly. We as adults tend to have geared ourselves towards learning in a linear fashion, where I could show you step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you got it, and we can register progress. Children don't learn that way. They learn more organically. So they tend to learn things. They might see step 3 and really get step 3, and you want them to get step 1, but they just like step 3, and then step 1 sort of fills itself in at the end, and then step 2 comes meandering along at one point, and here's step 2, and then you finally get the 3 connected, and then you finally get the whole piece.
Right.
So what's the time frame? It is their time frame. I've had kids that get skills and concepts immediately. I've had kids that take years to get this. Persistence or perseverance is part of spirituality.
Right.
I mean, discipline.
Yeah.
How long do I have to sit to meditate to quiet my mind? Some days it's 30 seconds. Some days it's...
Well, with more practice,
Yes.
sometimes means less time.
Of course.
You know, it's
Absolutely.
the depth of it, of
Right.
course. And obviously with kids, they're learning at a more surface level a little bit, not as in-depth as adults too, so maybe
Yes.
they can hit more things. But I have been really impressed, by the way, with the way you help kids with special needs.
Yes.
The parents that walk in here. So I want to stop this conversation actually and switch gears and have a separate conversation just about that, because there are a lot of special needs parents out there, I think.
Yes.
And even if
absolutely.
you aren't, even if you're the parent of a child that has been bullied, a lot of the way his approach to teaching these kids is amazing. So we'll be right back. Remember, we are at Agora Karate. Here it is right there.
I hope you had fun listening to the interview today. That shirt right there belonged to my son when he first started. And don't get me wrong, my daughter was in karate with Master Ercolano as well. Girl power, that's right. But Master Ercolano is so fantastic at helping give people confidence and courage to find their power. Watch this. Woo!
Wow.
Yes. And don't forget, it's never too late. What about when your dad starts karate and you get to put his belt on? There's nothing quite like being a father and having your black belt son put your belt on for you. Keep coming back to the show here. I hope that you are finding some inspiration here. Don't be afraid to subscribe to the show and share it with friends. You can also find me out there on other social media platforms, of course, like Instagram or your favorite audio platform for the podcast show as well. Make sure to comment if you like. Thanks for being here. I'm Maria, just in case you forgot. This is the Strong Body, Strong Soul Show.